What if everything we call history is only the version that survived time, power, and fear? And what if one of the most extraordinary structures ever created by human hands was never truly built as a symbol of strength, but as a desperate response to something far more dangerous? Something invisible, something internal, something that cannot be defeated with weapons. Fear, high above the earth, cutting through endless mountains, deserts, cliffs, and forgotten valleys. There exists a structure so vast that it no longer feels like it belongs to human hands. It doesn't simply rest on the land, it dominates it, as if the earth itself was forced to carry a memory it never agreed to hold. From a distance, it looks like a line, but the closer you understand it, the more that line begins to change shape. Because from history's perspective, it is not just stone, not just architecture, not just defense. It is something far more complex, a fracture carved across an entire civilization. A boundary not only between territories, but between survival and collapse, between control and chaos, between what was protected and what was feared. And buried inside that fear lies a question that still refuses to fade. Why would an empire need something this massive just to feel safe? This is the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China is not a single continuous wall, but a vast network of fortifications built across different eras. What we see today is actually a combination of multiple sections constructed by various dynasties over centuries. It stretches across mountains, deserts, and valleys, sometimes clearly visible, and sometimes fading into the landscape as if it has become part of the earth itself. Its origins date back to around the 7th century BC, when China was not a unified nation but divided into several small states. Each of these states built its own defensive walls to protect themselves from invasions and rival kingdoms. Over time, as China became unified under different rulers, these separate walls were expanded, connected, and strengthened. Gradually, they evolved into what is now known as the Great Wall of China, a structure that reflects centuries of military strategy, political change, and human effort. If all its sections are combined, the total length is believed to exceed 21,000 kilometers, making it one of the longest man-made structures in the world. Beyond its history and physical structure, the Great Wall of China is also surrounded by many myths and stories that have developed over centuries, as is often the case with ancient and world-famous monuments, where imagination and storytelling gradually blend with historical facts. Over time, this has shaped the way the wall is understood, not only through what it truly is, but also through what people believe or assume about it. One of the most widely repeated claims is that the Great Wall of China is visible from space with the naked eye. This idea has circulated so often in popular culture that it is often accepted as fact. Yet scientifically, it is not accurate. Astronauts and space agencies have consistently confirmed that the wall is extremely difficult to see without aid, due to its narrow structure and the way it blends into the surrounding natural landscape. From space, it does not stand out clearly as a distinct man-made object. Because of this, the claim is now regarded as an exaggerated myth rather than a scientific reality. An example of how powerful stories can become over time, even when they are not fully supported by evidence. But myths rarely exist without reason. They survive because they carry something deeper than facts. They carry meaning, emotion, and the way people once tried to understand the world around them. And when a story becomes this powerful, it stops being just a question of whether it is true or false, and starts becoming a question of why it was ever believed in the first place. Because behind every myth, there is usually a reality that is far more complex, far more human, and far more difficult to explain. And perhaps that is where the story of the Great Wall of China truly begins, not as a legend seen from space, but as a response to something far more grounded on Earth: fear, survival, and a world constantly on the edge of collapse. The Great Wall of China is not a symbol of strength, but a monument to fear so powerful that it reshaped the land, consumed millions of lives, and left behind a silence that still echoes across the mountains today, because beneath every stone lies a question no one wants to answer. Was this wall built to keep enemies out, or to trap an empire inside its own paranoia? The mist does not simply rest upon the mountains. It clings to them like a suffocating memory, wrapping itself around the jagged ridges and broken cliffs, as though it is trying to hide something ancient and unresolved, and cutting through that heavy silence, stretching endlessly across valleys, deserts, and peaks that seem impossible to conquer, lies the Great Wall of China, a structure so vast that it feels less like something constructed and more like something forced upon the earth, as if the land itself resisted its creation, but ultimately yielded to an empire driven by fear, obsession, and an unrelenting desire for control over everything it could see and everything it could not. What we see today is only a fraction of what once existed, a restored and polished illusion that attracts millions of visitors each year. Yet beneath this carefully maintained surface lies a far more disturbing truth, because this wall is not merely a boundary or a defensive barrier, but a continuous scar across history itself, a line that was written not just with stone and earth, but with human suffering on a scale so vast that it becomes almost impossible to comprehend. And if one could strip away its layers piece by piece, traveling backward through time, what would be revealed is not emptiness, but a foundation filled with forgotten lives, silent deaths, and stories that were never given the chance to be told. To understand why such a structure could ever exist, it is necessary to return to a time when China was not a unified nation, but a fractured and violent landscape known as the Warring States period, a period defined by relentless warfare, shifting alliances, and a constant struggle for survival, in which no state could ever truly feel secure, and where the idea of peace was nothing more than a temporary pause between conflicts, forcing rulers to live in a state of permanent anxiety, always anticipating the next invasion, betrayal, or collapse that could erase everything they had built. In such an environment, the concept of building walls did not emerge as a symbol of pride or ambition, but as a desperate attempt to create some form of stability in a world that offered none, leading each kingdom to construct its own defensive barriers using the resources available to it, resulting in a fragmented network of walls made primarily from rammed earth, formed by compressing layers of soil into wooden frames until they hardened into something resembling stone. Yet despite the immense labor required to build them, these walls remained fundamentally flawed because they were isolated from one another, leaving gaps that could be exploited by enemies who needed only to find a single weakness to bring destruction upon an entire region. Everything changed with the rise of Qin Shi Huang, a ruler whose ambition extended far beyond conquest, and whose vision of unity was inseparable from his desire for absolute control. And after defeating the rival states and bringing them under his rule, he achieved something unprecedented in history by creating a single, unified empire. Yet even in victory, he found no sense of security, because beyond his northern borders existed a threat that could not be easily defeated or contained: the nomadic Xiongnu, whose mobility and unconventional tactics made them nearly impossible to counter using traditional military strategies. Faced with this persistent and unpredictable danger, Qin Shi Huang made a decision that would forever alter the course of history. By ordering the connection and expansion of existing walls into one continuous defensive system, an undertaking so vast and complex that it pushed the limits of what a pre-industrial society could achieve, requiring not only enormous quantities of materials, but also an unprecedented mobilization of human labor, transforming the very act of construction into a national obsession that consumed resources, lives, and entire communities. The process of building the wall was nothing short of brutal, as workers were forced to operate in some of the harshest environments imaginable, from steep mountain ridges, where a single misstep could result in a fatal fall, to barren deserts, where extreme temperatures and lack of resources made survival itself a constant struggle. And without the aid of modern machinery, all materials had to be transported manually, often passed from one person to another in long human chains that stretched across the landscape, turning each individual into a small but essential part of a massive and relentless system. At any given time, hundreds of thousands of people were involved in the construction, including soldiers, peasants, prisoners, and intellectuals who had fallen out of favor with the regime, creating a workforce that was driven not by choice, but by coercion, and because the project was considered vital to the survival of the empire, there was little regard for individual well-being, meaning that those who could not keep up with the demands of the work were quickly replaced, while those who died were often left where they fell, their bodies becoming part of the very structure they had been forced to build. It is this reality that has led to the enduring belief that the wall is the longest cemetery on Earth, a phrase that captures both the immense scale of the project and the human cost associated with it. And while the exact number of deaths remains unknown, it is widely accepted that countless lives were lost during its construction, leaving behind a legacy that is as much about suffering as it is about achievement, turning the wall into a monument that embodies both the power and the cruelty of the empire that created it. Yet, despite the brutality of its construction, the wall also represents a remarkable level of ingenuity, particularly in the development of materials and techniques that allowed it to endure for centuries, including the use of a unique mortar made from a mixture of slaked lime and sticky rice, a combination that produced a binding agent of extraordinary strength and durability, effectively creating an early form of composite material that has proven to be more resilient than many modern alternatives, allowing sections of the wall to survive earthquakes, erosion, and the passage of time in ways that continue to fascinate scientists and engineers today. As the wall evolved over the centuries, it became more than just a physical barrier, transforming into a complex defensive network that incorporated watchtowers, garrisons, and signaling systems designed to detect and respond to threats with remarkable speed. And through the use of smoke and fire signals, information could be transmitted across vast distances in a matter of hours, creating an early warning system that allowed the empire to mobilize its forces long before an enemy could penetrate deep into its territory, demonstrating a level of strategic sophistication that challenges modern assumptions about ancient warfare. At the same time, the wall became deeply embedded in the cultural consciousness of the people, giving rise to stories and legends that reflected both the pride and the pain associated with its existence, among the most famous of which is the tale of Meng Jiangnu, a woman whose journey to find her husband, who had been taken to work on the wall, ended in tragedy when she discovered that he had died and been buried within its structure, and whose grief was said to be so powerful that it caused a section of the wall to collapse, revealing his remains and allowing her to give him a proper burial. A story that, while not historically verifiable, serves as a powerful symbol of the human cost of the wall and the emotional toll it took on countless families. By the time of the Ming Dynasty, the wall had reached its most advanced and recognizable form, with the introduction of brick and stone construction, the addition of artillery, and the reinforcement of key strategic points, transforming it into a formidable defensive system that stretched across vast distances. Yet, despite these improvements, it was not an impenetrable barrier, as history has shown that determined invaders were able to breach or bypass it through a combination of strategy, deception, and internal weaknesses within the empire itself. This raises a fundamental question that continues to shape our understanding of the wall. Did it actually work? Or was it ultimately a flawed solution to a complex problem? While it undoubtedly provided a measure of protection and served as a powerful symbol of unity and strength, it also required an enormous investment of resources and manpower, placing a significant strain on the empire's economy and contributing to internal instability, suggesting that its effectiveness may have been as much psychological as it was practical. Today, the Great Wall of China is one of the most famous tourist destinations in the world. Every year, millions of people visit it to witness its historic grandeur. However, a large part of the wall has already been damaged. Over centuries, the Great Wall of China has slowly begun to fade in many places. What was once a powerful line of defense stretching across mountains, deserts, and valleys is now, in parts, reduced to broken stones and scattered remains. Some sections have completely collapsed, returning back to dust and earth. Others still exist, but they are weak, worn down by endless exposure to wind, rain, snow, and time itself. But nature is only one part of the story. Human influence has also played a major role in this gradual destruction. As cities expanded rapidly around ancient regions, new roads, buildings, and infrastructure projects began to cut through or surround historic sections of the wall. In some areas, stones were removed and reused for construction. In others, the wall was simply left unattended, slowly decaying without protection or care. What was once a symbol of protection became vulnerable itself. Recognizing this loss, China later initiated large-scale preservation and restoration efforts. The goal was not just to repair stone structures, but to preserve a piece of identity, history, and human effort that spans thousands of years. Today, not all sections are treated equally. The areas near Beijing have received the most attention, careful restoration, maintenance, and protection. Because of this, they remain strong enough to stand and visually intact enough to represent what the wall once looked like in its full power. This is why these sections attract millions of visitors every year. This wall was not built only for the defense of China, but also as a symbol of human determination and willpower. Yet behind every brick lies the sweat of a laborer, and perhaps even the loss of a life. Today, when people walk on the Great Wall and take photographs, they may not realize that they are not simply walking on stones. They are walking on a story thousands of years old, one filled with hardship, pain, and the ultimate limits of human endurance. Today, when we look at this wall, we do not see just a historical structure, but a journey shaped by human will, sacrifice, and relentless effort. A journey that continued for centuries and left behind deep traces of human struggle and contribution. But looking at this journey also raises another question in the mind. Have we truly tried to feel this story, or have we simply passed by it with a glance? Without realizing that within every brick lies the echo of a life and the weight of a forgotten story. In the end, the Great Wall of China stands as one of the most extraordinary achievements in human history, a structure that embodies the ambition, ingenuity, and determination of the people who built it, while also serving as a stark reminder of the cost of those achievements, raising questions about the balance between security and freedom, power and humanity, and the lengths to which societies are willing to go in their pursuit of safety, leaving us to wonder whether the wall was truly a triumph of civilization, or a warning about the dangers of fear when it is allowed to shape the world on such a monumental scale.